The cost of IT in business can be staggering. From hardware and software expenses to services like internet and phone, you don't need to spend a fortune on IT to succeed. If your organization spends more than $500 monthly on any service, or you're considering signing a long-term contract, IT Enabled can help you manage your technology and minimize your costs. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation. IT Enabled, we're here to help.
Hi, I'm Tara Watson-Watkins, President and CEO of the Lufkin, Angelina County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Connect podcast, connecting business to the community. I'm here today with my co-host, Blake Pollino with BP Media Group.
Welcome back to the show. We're so excited that you've tuned in again with us this week. Thank you so much for everybody who supports and listens to the show. This week we have Whitney Baran, the Executive Director of the Family Crisis Center, here to talk about everything that they do for this community. They are the Nonprofit of the Year award, and we're so excited to have her on the show. So let's get into that now.
Whitney, we're thrilled to have you on our podcast. This is your first time to join us, isn't it?
It is. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. So Whitney is, as you heard, with the Family Crisis Center of East Texas, and y'all were the Nonprofit of the Year this year. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We were really excited. Just to be nominated was so exciting, but then to actually be recognized and receive the award was just amazing. So we were really excited about that.
Absolutely. Well, we cannot wait to hear what all that you do. Why don't you give a little bit of your background, and then we'll jump into what the Family Crisis Center is and does for our community.
Well, Whitney Baran, ED with the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. I have been with the Family Crisis Center since 2008.
I love your story.
So,
it's a great story.
Yes, I actually started as an intern. I was going to Angelina College, and then through the Angelina College, my degree through Angelina College, you had to do an internship. And so I started as an intern in 2008. I was hired as the ED at that time's executive assistant, and just kind of worked my way up, and the rest is history. Here I am, almost 15 years later.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
My husband Brent was on the committee that hired her, and he said there is absolutely nobody else that knows this story and lives and breathes this like you. And I always think about that every time I see you, is that he was like, hands down, no other question, who needs to be the new ED.
Yes. And the thing about, and I say this all the time, and I say, putting my name in for the hat for ED after, working so closely with Heather. I worked, close with Heather for 10 years while she was ED, and seeing, what the job really was, the ins and outs of the job. I really had to think about putting my name in for the hat, for the job, because I knew how much work it was going to be. And so when I, decided to do that, I really wanted to do my best and really follow in Heather's footsteps, because she was a phenomenal mentor and teacher. And so I hope I'm doing that. I feel like I am, and trying to. And so just a real honor to receive the ED position and just get up every day and do our best for an agency that I love. I love this agency so much, and everybody that's a part of it.
So tell us a little bit about the agency. So tell us, for people who may not know, what the Family Crisis Center is and what you do.
So we, of course, are a 501c3 nonprofit. Mm-hmm. We assist victims of family violence and sexual assault in 9 counties. So anyone who has, a lot of people don't really realize that this assault could have happened at any time in your life. It doesn't have to be a recent assault. It doesn't have to be something that we ask for any kind of proof for. There's no questions asked. If you come to our agency and say that you've been a victim of domestic violence or sexual assault, then you can receive our services free of charge. We offer a 39-bed emergency shelter. We have a 24-hour crisis hotline. We have counseling, legal advocacy, child advocacy, transitional housing. The sky is the limit on the services that we can provide these individuals to move forward and live a life free from violence. So it's kind of in a nutshell what we do.
It's just an amazing service that you give our community. And I know you have several safe houses. Is that correct?
We just have our one.
Okay.
Yes, but we have several transitional housing units in scattered sites across our counties. And so our transitional housing is when what we say an individual's lethality is lower, and they don't have to be in our safe house. They can just be what we call an outreach client. It's a program that they can participate participate in. They just have to have either a full-time job or going to school, and they can live in our transitional housing unit for up to 18 months rent-free while they're regaining their independence and self-sufficiency. Yeah, so
that's great. I think a lot of times we've done that. We're 150 plus episodes into this podcast, and when we have organizations like yours on, I feel like a lot of times it's easy to just touch on what the topics are at a high level, but not really get very, very deep into them because it's a sometimes uncomfortable thing to talk about for people.
It is.
What specifically are situations where people should be coming to your center to receive services?
Well, and that's a really good question, because I think that's something that when we go out to the community, we want to educate individuals in our community that, a lot of people think, well, I don't need emergency shelter, so the Family Crisis Center can't help me.
Right.
When in reality, over half of the clients that we see never even stay in our shelters. Maybe they need counseling, or maybe they just need help with a protective order. Maybe their children need counseling because of course, the children, a lot of people forget about the kids that are involved in these domestic violence situations too. So those kids kind of fall between the cracks. Maybe they need help with self-sufficiency. Maybe they've had some financial abuse and they need to get back on their feet in that aspect. So just educating the community on what domestic violence really is and looks like, because it's not always visible. It's not always physical. It can be emotional. It can be financial. It can be psychological. So that stigma behind domestic violence is that woman with the black eye when in reality, men are victims of domestic violence. Women, anybody. It affects everybody. There's no just certain person that experiences. It's everyone, and it's not always visible and physical.
So can men also stay at your safe house?
They can, yes.
Okay.
We serve men and we shelter men in our safe house as well. Yeah.
I think that's just such a myth that people think that this only happens to a
Absolutely.
woman.
Absolutely.
But it can happen both ways.
Absolutely.
How does the safe house process work? So who should be reaching out about that? What situations are they needing help with?
It just varies. We have a lot of situations, like I said, where it's they're calling our crisis hotline, and our crisis workers are answering those calls and assessing the situations. To come into our shelter, sometimes the lethality is really high, and so making sure that they're safe, that there is a safety plan. Maybe the time is not immediate, but we work with that individual to say, okay, when you're ready to leave, let's put a safety plan in place, because statistically, the highest an individual who's going through domestic violence situation, the danger is at its highest when they leave their situations. So we have to make sure that those individuals are safe during that process. And so we have internal processes internally and procedures that can help individuals stay safe while they're, planning on leaving those individuals. But really and truly, anybody can call our hotline just to talk to a crisis worker or a legal advocate and just kind of assess their situation, because sometimes individuals don't even know they have the option to leave or what options are available for them. And so we can help with the safety planning from top to bottom, assessing them and seeing what they need.
So I think the public thinks that they know about the organization. If you could tell them something that they probably do not know, what would you say?
I think about just all of the different working parts of our organization. And like I said, going back to, that there's more services that are provided to individuals in need, just not our shelter. You know what I mean? Like there's, you don't have to just come into our shelter to receive our services. You can be an outreach client and you can receive the counseling. And all of our services are free of charge. Like we don't charge anything. And that just kind of goes into where our funding and our thrift stores come into, and how dire they are to our organization. And the community support, because that support in the community helps our agency provide those resources and services for free of charge. Just, about the services that are available, all the working parts of our organization. And once again, going back to just what domestic violence really is, like what does that really look like? And then that educational piece to the community on what that is. And how domestic violence and sexual assault affects our community. You think that, well, I'm not in that situation, and it's not affecting me, but it does. It's a strain on your community, your resources, your hospitals, your kids' school. You know, everything that, you know, an individual in your community is it affects, domestic violence affects it. So
it's just like a ripple effect.
it does. It is. So
interesting. You touched on it here a little while ago with the stores and things, but tell us about the funding for your organization.
Sure.
How does that work?
So, like I said, we are a nonprofit, and so we do receive state and federal funding. But over half of our unrestricted revenue comes from our thrift stores. And so we have 2 thrift stores. We have one here in Angelina County in Lufkin, and then we have one in Nacogdoches. And it's so funny because I'll you know, people will say, well, I donate clothing to your thrift store all the time. And I'm like, good, we'll shop too, because that's just as important, because, you know, our thrift stores, they really help us to be creative and meet the client needs that our grants sometimes don't cover, if that makes sense. And so if a client comes in and they need a bus ticket to a different state to you know, be safe, we can do that with our thrift stores. We also provide client vouchers, you know, to our thrift stores. We also work with different agencies and partner agencies with thrift store vouchers too. So I feel like that we are kind of like a community partner agency thrift store, because we, you know, I'm just such a believer in the more you give, the more you receive. And so just want to be a good steward of our resources and help our partner agencies in that way too.
You know, if you've never shopped at the thrift store, you're missing out.
Yes.
I've bought Waterford there. Janice, our CFO, bought a mink coat there not long ago.
Yes.
She wears it from time to time. It's beautiful, but you never know what you're going to find.
You don't. It's amazing. And you know, all the time, you know, Lisa, our thrift store director, will text me pictures, and she's like, look what we got today. And I'm like, gosh, you know, people just donate the most wonderful stuff. And so it's just such a huge resource for our agency. And we accept everything. A lot of people think that we just receive or just accept clothing, but we accept household goods too. So that's something that
We found a really cool golf garage organizer there a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
So
nice.
there's cool stuff that you can find that's not clothes, that household items. This is the first I've heard of the voucher program. Kind of explain that for us, so people who are in need or in the programs can go into the store for clothes and household items.
So they would contact our admin office, and then we can kind of assess their situation and see if there's anything that we can help them, you know, with a voucher. And so one of the things that we really mostly help with is, you know, furniture for if they're starting over in their homes, furniture, clothing, of course, and then, you know, for their kiddos as well. So,
that's a great program.
It is.
You're receiving those things in as donations and then giving them directly to the people who need them if need be. I love that.
So how do you even begin to go through? Because I know when I donate stuff, you know, I look in that back room and I think, oh my God, like, do you ever get to the bottom of the stack?
We do. And there's such a method to the madness at our thrift stores and sorting. And we do, you know, you can look at a pile and our sorters can have that out. And you can say, like, a lot of it is salvage. And so there's a lot of things that we get that we really can't sell, but we really try to be good stewards of those, that stuff as well. Right. But yes, our sorters, our thrift store, if there's anybody listening at our thrift store who works at our thrift stores, they are amazing and they do a wonderful job.
They would have to be. I've seen some of the stuff going
to
in.
The bottom of the
pile. Yes, we do.
That's great. Talk a little bit about donating. So we love to donate to you guys. What is the incentive to donate? Are there tax write-offs? Kind of explain that to people.
Yes. And so, you know, we can do a receipt when you don't even have to get out of your vehicle. You can just pull up to the door, and a bell rings, and a thrift store worker will come out and they'll get your items out of your vehicle, and then we can just write you a receipt to saying that you have, you know, donated, and you can keep that. And then it's absolutely a tax write-off, and then you're helping a good cause as well. You know, and so it's just so appreciated. We couldn't do it without our donors and community support, and we have such a wonderful community.
It's so giving.
It is so giving. It's just it never ceases to amaze me, the wonderful people in this community who are just so giving and just, you know, wonderful.
I love that.
Well, you've got a new campaign going.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So we are doing our Provide Not a Shelter campaign right now. And we're hoping to do this throughout the year. And so what that is that you can go into our website and you can click on donate, and it will come up with Provide Not a Shelter. And so essentially what you're doing is your donation will provide an individual and not a shelter in our safe house. And so we're doing $35 as the minimum, but you can choose whatever amount that you would like to give. And so this is something that I'm hoping that we can go and throughout the year and then just educate individuals throughout the year about our shelter and our agency. Yeah.
I love that.
Great.
So I'd love for there to be a call to action to this for people to understand, one, who are in need. So like if you have an emergency, we all know that you call 911, right? When people are in these situations where they need your services, what should they be thinking? Should they be thinking to call your crisis hotline?
Absolutely.
What should that thought process be?
Yes, they can always, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, they can call our hotline. That number is 1-800-828-7233. And even if, they're not sure what they want to do, if it's like, I don't want to leave right now, but I'm thinking about it. I think I might need help, but I really don't know. Call our agency any time of day, and there's an advocate that can help and talk you through the process. And so give you resources. And if it's something that our agency can't help with, we can refer you to an agency that can. Yeah. So just pick up the phone, and we also have a text that's a text line too. We can do a text. So if you're in a situation where you can't call, you can always do our text line as well. Okay. Because I just think that the text line is really something that I'm excited about, because there's a lot of texting is just so, this day and age, it's easy. And so, and a lot of times, people can't make that phone call because of their situation. And so texting is just a little bit more discreet. And so we have that available as well.
Awesome. And these are free, anonymous?
Anonymous. Yeah. As anonymous as you want them to be. You can call and identify, but if you just want to stay anonymous, then you can stay anonymous. Yeah.
That's great for people to know that if you need this, it's there and it's available.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for your time and coming on and sharing.
I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Our community is so blessed to have y'all, and so thank you for all you do for us.
You guys do an amazing job too, the chamber. I just kind of want to, just say too, even if it's for the community listening, if it's, not our agency that you connect and plug into, just, as a New Year's resolution, make that your resolution to just get behind a nonprofit in your community and support them. And, it really means a lot, and it helps the community. And so I just want to say thank you for having me on and talking about it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming on. And please go support this organization or any other organization that you care about, a nonprofit here in our community. They make such an impact and such a difference. And if you've listened to more than a few of these episodes of the podcast, you've definitely learned that and seen that as a reoccurring theme here. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.